This city is second only to Tokyo and Seoul in terms of population density. It is here that several cultures and eras have intertwined. The history of Indian peoples and Spanish conquerors. Here you can admire architectural monuments, which are 1,000 years old, and the novelties in architecture. You're on the Yanbuya Canal, and I've come to Mexico City. And today we're going to get to the main Mexican holiday. I think you've guessed what this is about. What amazed me in Mexico City and what really bummed me out. The Krasnodar beach sells tastier food, running, crawling, and even flying. What do Mexicans have for lunch or dinner? That's disgusting. The Walking Dead and pictures of death itself. No screaming or crying aloud. How do the local bakers cut profits while it's hot? I baked a holiday pastry and learned the secret ingredient fueling the popularity of bread of the dead. And yes, this issue will definitely be anti-stress. If you're angry, it's okay to tear yourself away.
Subtitles by Dima Torsok.
Well, let's meet the Mexican capital of Russian guests. The city where to get to, which is about 60,000 rubles from Moscow and back, is more expensive than to rest. But the prices here immediately say, even an economical tourist can afford it. But where are the fearless cowboys and women in colorful dresses? Hey, this is not how I imagined Mexico. Just glass high-rises and lots of cars. The thing is that you just have to drive to the historical sites. And here, unlike for example, in neighboring Los Angeles, it is very convenient to move by public transport. You can go anywhere by subway. It costs 5 pesos. And for that amount of money, the car is clean and the train is new. Some trains are tire trains. That is, behind the rubber wheels, the usual iron ones. Why it is done this way is not clear. If you know, post in the comments, it's very interesting. Also, the first 2 or 3 cars can only be used by women and children. This is so that naughty Mexicans don't molest the women. The women. The main thing is not to get confused in the subway. It's good that there is a map of the subway, but nothing is clear. But that's just at first glance. Mexico City subway has a peculiarity, which I have not met anywhere else. All station names are duplicated with graphic images in the form of animals, people, plants, and other logos. This is done for those who have not yet learned to read. There were a lot of people like that in the 60s, and even now there are. Well, for me, as a tourist who does not know Spanish, it is very convenient. By the way, according to the subway map, you can get to any part of the city on the so-called Metrobus. Look how high its floor is. You can't just climb on it. And the floor is high because Metrobuses pull up with a special stop that looks like a subway platform. On the plus side, it has a dedicated line, so it's never in traffic. And for Mexico City, that's a big deal. The fare is a little more expensive, but it rides in a dedicated lane, bypassing all traffic. If you buy a transportation card, you can use the Metrobus as well, basically anything. Including and here I am in the northeast, 50 kilometers from the city center. And I'm starting my journey from here because this is one of the oldest cities in America. Yes, these pyramids really mesmerize with their grandeur and 1,000-year history. Imagine, The first people settled here in the 3rd century BC. It was the largest economic center, where astronomers, traders, and just workers sought for a better life. And since everyone was a pagan, they built 2 temples in honor of the sun and moon, where they made sacrifices to the gods for a good harvest. The Sun Temple consists of 5 steps. It is believed that each stage took 52 years to build, and construction was completed by the Feast of New Fire. This holiday was celebrated when the constellation of the Pleiades was exactly above the pyramid. It turns out that this temple was built somewhere 260 years. What caused the city's demise is unknown. Scientists assume all visible volcanic eruption and earthquakes. Ruins many centuries later found the Aztec Indians and called this place Teotihuacan. This is the place where man becomes a god. That's what the Nuatcal word Teotihuacan means. That's how the Aztecs named this place. By the way, it is believed that the giants who built these pyramids lived here before the Aztecs. Wait, what giants? Well, of course there were no giants here. It's just that there used to be mammoths. The Aztecs found their bones and used to scare the Spanish with them, telling scary stories. By the way, the Aztecs, having seen the half-ruined temples of the moon and the sun, decided that the universe was born here. So they believed that if you applaud in this place, you'll get rich. There's an amazing sound effect here. If you stand in front of the pyramid and clap your hands, you can hear the Quetzal bird screaming. This bird was believed by the Aztecs to bring money and power. Indians are Indians, but my applause has only brought together the local whistle sellers.
They'll be gone.
Very much.
They just come from all corners and still scare you.
Loud. Nah, we're not gonna get one. What you don't have to spend money on is definitely the show. Incendiary dancing to Latin tunes. And guitar-laden songs about love sung outside local restaurants by artists attracting tourists. Not for nothing, Mexicans are considered one of the most musical peoples of the world. And it went, by the way, about the same Indians who sang and danced to please the gods. From paganism to Christianity. And now, just for a minute and a half, let's divert from Mexico and move almost 10,000 kilometers away from here to the Czech Republic. Even on set, I'm exploring new destinations to go to, and one of the possible options is Prague. And this is what I found out. More often people go there not only for impressions. In the heart of Europe, you can live and study, and it's absolutely free. Age, citizenship, school grades, US results do not matter. All you need is to know Czech at the level of B2 and successfully pass the entrance exams to U. And to learn the language and prepare for the tests in higher education institutions of the Czech Republic will help GoStudy, a school that has been doing this for more than 20 years, and it has thousands of grateful graduates on its account. In GoStudy, they teach special programs depending on the direction chosen by the future applicant. At all stages, students are supported by a team of supervisors. They will also help with the visa. Training takes place in Prague or Brno. The course lasts for a year, and during this time they organize a lot of events for students, including trips to Europe. After completing the course, students pass the state exam in Czech language, receive a certificate, and enter the higher educational institutions of the Czech Republic. Again, it is free of charge. That is, in fact, you have to pay for a year of studying Czech in GoStudy, and you're on your way. In my opinion, this is a great opportunity to get a European education, and with it an excellent job with a high salary. All details about language courses and study programs on the GoStudy website. Follow the link in the description and change your life for the better. This is perhaps the main shrine for all Latin Americans, the Roman Catholic Church of Our Lady, where millions of pilgrims come for healing. According to legend, in the 16th century, the Blessed Virgin descended from heaven so that people would believe in a miracle and build a church in her honor. The image of the saint was seen by Juan Diego, a local peasant, whom she asked to gather roses growing on rocks which could not be, and take them to the clergyman. Juan Diego was surprised, but he did, and when he unwrapped the cloak of flowers, the image of the Virgin Mary appeared on it. As a result, the episcopal believed the pagans were voluntarily baptized, and a temple was built on the place where the roses bloomed. Of course, it's a beautiful legend, and most likely it was invented by the Spaniards themselves to encourage the Indians to accept Catholicism. As a result, today, Mexico is second only to Brazil in the number of churches. Think about it, at 86 million, and that's almost 100% of the population believers. And how much the whole world saw when the Pope came to this country, where he was literally hugged and almost knocked down. The head of the Catholic Church was angry, but the faithful were not embarrassed. And every year there are more and more parishioners here. You can imagine this is the second most visited Catholic church in the world, after the Vatican. And when the Pope comes, he preaches from this very balcony. They don't let ordinary people in, of course, but I think that it offers the best view of the neighboring park, where you can and should walk. And it was here among small waterfalls buried in greenery that my dream buzzed. You know, I just saw a calabrite here, and they say there are a lot of them in Mexico City. Tired and galvanized, I head out for a bite to eat. And in every corner of this city, like in Russia before New Year's, everything is decorated with paper garlands. True, with a tinge of death. And the streets are crowded with people in colorful costumes. There's a Mad Hatter who meets the Black Queen, a killer clown with his victim, and everyone's dancing with Latino passion. A lot of people are dancing. Before I get to the spontaneous street food market. And on every corner, corn, corn, corn. The queen of the fields is made into jarek. They make sweets and porridge out of it. And it is understandable because thanks to the sunny weather, it grows here to a huge size. By the way, the journey of sweet cobs around the world began in the Middle Ages when Spanish conquerors came to America. To visit the homeland of this culture and not try it, I simply cannot.
Bicycles. Oh my goodness, that's a lot of mayonnaise. Why so much?
I can't imagine what they're doing in there.
Yes. I haven't tasted anything like this yet.
You're an overgrown circle jerk. Okay, we'll try it. They sell better stuff at Krasnodar Beach. It's very hard and unpalatable.
Maybe I just don't know the place. Meet Jacoba. Jacoba lives in Mexico City and will tell me about Mexican food. What's your favorite?
Yana kind.
Our national dish is pozole, which is a soup with big chunks of corn. Also esquito salad with cooked corn kernels, chili and lime.
It's corn again, even though the locals say it's delicious, but maybe there's something heartier.
And then you should try taca, which is a corn tortilla that you can wrap meat, seafood, vegetables, whatever you want.
Another thing, Jacoba takes me to a popular restaurant on the street, and there are a lot of them in Mexico City, where only locals eat. And all around something is brewing, boiling.
Smells good.
And everything is so strange and unusual. Remember, fry the rice cakes on both sides. Put rice, meat, vegetables, chop the onions coarsely, a lot of onions. Drizzle with hot sauce and lime.
Students often eat here because it's delicious and cheap.
I don't know about delicious yet, but one taco, which by the way you can eat, costs as much as a doshirak.
That's how our students eat doshirak, but here they eat tacos.
Tacos are ready. The tortilla has to be rolled up in a special way, and
I'm falling.
Hold the taco with one hand and take a bite. That's it.
It must look very unappetizing. I have no practice eating tacos. It's all flowing. It's so juicy.
spicy. Oh, I'll never be Latina. I could use some borscht in here right now. All right, we're inviting the Mexican to Kolobok's Russian restaurant. But how else could you call a piece of the fatherland in America, where spiders and skeletons lurk among birch trees and samovars, reminding you that you are still in Mexico?
Ah, the Russian spirit is here. You can smell Russia here.
How about it, Mr. Jacoba? Solyanka, stuffed cabbage served with mashed potatoes for some reason. In a word, Mexicans. And herring under a fur coat without it. Sprat sandwich and kvass. From here on out, just watch the reaction.
What's that?
It's floating. Actually, it should be sour cream or mayonnaise usually.
Very tasty. You like it? It's very good, yeah. Yeah. Now I'm gonna try the sandwich.
Sandwich, right?
Yes.
Honestly, do you like it?
It has a very sweet flavor. It's a specific flavor with a bit of bitterness. I like it.
What is that? It's a salad. It's a kind of salted fish. Potatoes, beets, carrots.
Mixed with.
Nonna Hugh.
Evening.
Mayonnaise, really? You like the fur coat?
Yes.
I do too. Usually, nobody likes it.
It looks weird. I definitely need to try this.
It's meat mixed with rice and wrapped in a cabbage leaf.
You like it? Really?
Yeah. Let's try it. Here you go. It's a weird name, and it's cloudy.
Kvass is a bread drink. It's fermented.
Taste it. How do you drink it? I like it.
Dinner ended up costing us like 30 tacos. So much for nostalgia. Let's keep moving because tomorrow I have a big adventure ahead of me. Careful, dinner's getting away. Do they really eat this in Mexico?
Cute. They'll eat you too.
The dead and the souls are visiting. Do Mexicans really mean it? Scary expensive. How do local businessmen profit from celebrating the dead? And what does this have to do with Hollywood directors? The Day of the Dead has begun. Mexicans are convinced death is the continuation of life, only in the afterlife. And on holidays, the souls of deceased relatives return home. So the townspeople put on their best carnival costumes and parade around the town. You have no idea how excited I am. I've been looking forward to seeing it for a long time. By the way, the Day of the Dead was celebrated back in pagan Aztec times, but it used to be more of a costumed and chaotic celebration and ritual rites in cemeteries, which began to lose popularity in the early part of the last century. But 6 years ago, when the movie about the next mission of secret agent James Bond in Mexico City was released, the authors of the action movie came up with a parade in deadly brightly colored costumes. They even invited 500 local extras for the Mexicans took offense at the director's loose interpretation? No. The local authorities were quick to capitalize. They repeated the show the very next year. The Hollywood-inspired publicity worked. Now thousands of tourists come to see the parade. To supplement the city's budget, they show up hours before the parade starts, and they've had time to soak up the local heat. Sitting on the asphalt, the heat is unimaginable, although today is October 31st. Some people don't have enough room, but there are trees. And the crowd is just awful. We had to get more or less normal seats. We arrived 2 hours before the carnival started.
A lot of people.
There's more behind us.
Of people.
The parade is 8 kilometers long. There's dead ladies in dresses, skeletons, Satan, some strange beasts with antennas on their heads. You know, all kinds of evil. I feel like I'm in a famous cartoon, The Secret of Coco. In the world of the dead, I gotta blend in. It's all right now. I wouldn't be ashamed to go out like this. Open, so people can admire their altars, or as they call them, ofrenda. Now, let's take a closer look. It turns out that in every house on holidays, they put up an altar like this, in honor of a deceased relative. Mexicans believe that this structure, it's literally an open door, through which the souls come to the world of the living once a year. Why so much food?
We celebrate the arrival of our loved ones who have left us. Today they come to visit us. And when we are waiting for guests, we treat them after the road. So we lay out for the adults the fresh fruits and dishes they loved most in their lifetime. Toys and candy for the kids. After all, that's what little ones like best. Isn't that right? And we treat everyone to special round bread.
It's true, isn't it? Almost every altar is lined with baked goods, what they call here the bread of the dead. To tell you why the holiday buns, the suffering of beautiful girls. I was promised by the local baker and agreed to reveal the secret ingredients. Here's the recipe. Mix wheat flour with half and half cornmeal, crack a dozen eggs, and add a couple pounds of butter. What do you do with butter?
Like this. Now.
And then pour in a little bit of sugar. Then whip the dough well with your hands.
Here's the recipe. Mix wheat flour with corn halves. Beat in a dozen eggs and add a couple pounds of butter. Also,
add raisins and nuts to
with
taste.
a pea-sized amount of sugar.
It's
heavy.
Then beat the dough
Honestly?
well with your hands. What do you want? It's so
I'll make
heavy.
some tomorrow.
make some.
It'll be good for someone.
Delicious. Muchas gracias. Subtitle editor A. Semkin
Trouble
corrector.
jokes are jokes,
A.
but when decorating the
Kulakova.
zdoba with bones,
Corrector.
the baker shared
A.
that the pagans used to
Kulakova.
kill the most beautiful girls they
Subtitle
used to
added
kill
by
the most
Dima
beautiful
Torzok.
girls, and their hearts would
Subtitle
be
added
offered to
by
the
Dima
gods.
Torzok.
But once sacrifice was
Subtitle
banned,
editor
people
A.
started baking buns,
Semkin
hence the
corrector
name,
A.
the Trail of the
Kulakova.
Dead. Now,
Look how
of
many
course, they
people
don't
wanna
offer
be
it to the
photographed
gods,
with
they
death.
sell them.
Or to be photographed on
And they're
grave.
beautiful like this.
Also
They are...
quite a big cube. Subtitle editor A. Kulakova.
And they sweep up the
Subtitles
ruddy
added by
zdoba.
Dima
Like
Torzok.
hotcakes, tourists and locals alike, they also seem to feel cozy at this feast of the dead. And the flower shopkeepers, who have a single bud of velvet, cost as much as half a hat or a bracelet at the market. And that's because for Mexicans, today it's not just a pretty plant. And the vendors know it. Velvet is an integral part of the Day of the Dead. They're said to light the way from the world of the dead to the world of the living. That's why Mexicans buy up the golden bouquets and display them on graves and some families. To make all these festive arrangements, they're blowing 2 months of their budget, especially since there are 2 days of festivities. On November 1st, the souls of dead children are commemorated. The second, adults. Modern Mexicans on the Day of the Dead. They go to the cemetery, they light candles, decorate the graves, and have fun. And they probably don't skimp on the costumes either. By the way, how often do you think about whether or not if you're spending your money wisely? Or maybe you've been looking for a good investment for a long time. You don't have to be a rich investor. You don't need to be a rich investor. It's enough to have a small amount of money, which will help you earn, including for traveling. This and much more from the world of finance. I learn on a YouTube channel. It's called Chief Investor. It's where top managers share news, trends, personal investing experiences. It's all very clear, so anyone can understand. And most importantly, no misinformation. The host, Andrei Shemetov, can definitely be trusted. After all, he is, for a second, Senior Vice President of Sberbank. Here's one of the latest episodes. The presenter and his state discussed how to organize professional training. From this clip in particular, you can learn what papers Sber's clients choose most often, what qualities are needed to become a trader, and how such a specialist differs from an investor. In general, a lot of useful information for those who are interested in the topic of finance and investment. So follow the link and subscribe to the channel Chief Investor. And of course, do not forget to put likes and write comments. Even to such serious bloggers as Andrei Shemetov, it's very important. Here, for example, what can lead anyone into a stupor? A child dressed as a dead man in a coffin. But for Mexicans, it turns out, it's a gift to give them something they'd normally bury them in, and wishing them like many years of life. It's a tradition. Or how about this? A big party with live music and fast food, right in the cemetery.
Hi!
By the way, the Spanish conquistadors tried to eradicate the holiday by forbidding the Indians from celebrating it, but their faith was so strong that they couldn't do it. The only thing they could agree on was to move the Day of the Dead from All Saints' Day to October 31. They used to celebrate the Day of the Dead in August, so they ended up celebrating on both continents at the same time, only in the States, for example, with a tinge of horror at death. And here they surprise tourists as much as they can with scary positivity, or like the paid rides on the Vatus. It's a breed of cow. Now that's unexpected.
I have to admit, I've never seen an animal like this alive before. That's a beauty. It's a must.
Don't forget to subscribe, of course, to my Instagram. There's really always a lot of interesting stuff on there. I show you what I can't. I don't have time to show in the video, so I look forward to seeing you there. looks like a cemetery here. Amidst the grave above the coffin, there's a lot of merriment, but behind all those smiles, there's still a lot of grief, and the pain of losing loved ones. This, by the way, was shared with me by the locals.
Tourists say that we laugh at death, but that's not true. We realize that death will come for each of us, so we respect it. And in our hearts, we always grieve and mourn our loved ones.
Yeah.
Mexicans really could be ranked #1 in the world. The competition is amazing, who despite all the wars, they keep the holiday traditions alive for 3,000 years, and they're just as careful with centuries-old buildings, like Constitution Square, which is in the very center of the city. Plaza de la Constitución, or Falcon Square. It's the largest in Latin America and one of the largest in the world, over 46,000 square meters. That's almost 2 of our red squares in Moscow. In the center is a mighty flagpole, on which the national flag is flying. And by the way, to build the Falcon, stones from the ruins of the Aztec city were used. And the cathedral was built by the Spanish conquerors from a pile of stones, a ruined image of a pagan temple to the god of war. But everywhere you look around here, houses from the 15th to the 17th century, you feel like you're in a free museum, open air. Just walk around and look. Mexico City's architecture makes you fall in love with yourself. It's Spain, of course. In places it even resembles Italy, but there's still something of its own. Mexican spirit. That's because the Indians started building the city. Think about it. 700 years ago. And interestingly, the country is 5 centuries younger than the capital. Let me try to surprise you. Answer the question. What is the official name of the country I'm in right now? I think most people would say Mexico. But actually the official name is the United Mexican States. Knew that? If you didn't know that, give it a thumbs up. And those who did, give this David guy a like. He's gorgeous. And the eagle on the cactus with the snake in its beak, that sits proudly on the Mexican flag. I'll tell you, it didn't just pop up. For almost 3 centuries, the Azteca had been roaming North America, looking for a place to settle. The difficulty was, according to legend, the god of sun and war had told the Indians their city would be there, where the Aztecas would find an eagle sitting on a cactus with a snake in its beak, and that's where they saw this picture. By the way, an eagle on a cactus with a snake in its beak. It's on the modern flag. Of Mexico, but even those buildings that were built 100 years ago are not out of style. For example, the capital's Postal Palace. The architects combined modern and historical, medieval Gothic and Art Nouveau, and inside, as they say, expensive and rich, marble, stucco, and gilding.
Thank you!
I have a tradition. I always send myself postcards from new places, cities, and countries. And naturally, I can't leave Mexico City out, the more so in a postcard like this. Walking around the city, I was struck by how clean it is. It's hard to believe that Mexico City is at the top of the list, dirtiest in the world. And the thing is, last year, the metropolitan government levied huge fines for litter thrown past the trash can. So law-abiding Mexicans, now they're keeping it clean. And even dog owners, of which there are many. There's a great love of dogs in Mexico City. I think everyone here has one. So it's not surprising that on the street, there are specialized kiosks. And walking with dogs is allowed everywhere, even in the central parks and squares, of which there are hundreds. One of them is a must-see. Here it is, an echo of my homeland in Mexico. I'm in a garden right now, which bears the name of the great Russian poet, Alexander Pushkin. In the center is a bust of him. You may ask, how did it get here? It's very simple. It was donated back in the 1970s as a sign of friendship between Mexico and the USSR. By the way, its pedestal is reinforced in a special way because Mexico is located in a territory where more than 70% of active volcanoes. And at the bottom of the ocean lake, tectonic plates, which are constantly moving. That's why about 90% of all earthquakes occur here. About a minute before the earthquake, the siren sounds, and people have to be able to jump out into the street and gather in these safe zones, specially designated areas. Look how organized it is. Even the floors are labeled so that when people run out, they line up so they don't create panic. And one of the most powerful earthquakes caught on amateur cameras 4 years ago. You can see the high-rises swaying violently. Dozens of buildings collapsed. So many people were left without a roof over their heads.
Subtitle editor A, Semkin corrector A, Kolobok.
But life goes on, and Mexico City is famous for that the freshest and cheapest products you can buy at the market, and there are about 300 of them here. And the most popular is San Juan, where they even sell lion steaks. Instead of the meat we're used to, chicken, pork, beef, you can buy meat here. But exotics are most often bought by tourists. The locals still choose a simpler menu because there's a lot of fruits and vegetables growing here, which is what they get on their plates most of the time. But we're here for something exotic, and the market is literally bursting with food, which can run off the plate, literally, like a giant spider, a snake. Or a live cockroach.
Subtitle writer director.
There are over 500 species of insects in Mexico. And yes, the locals eat them all. That's because before the Spanish came, Indians didn't keep livestock, and insects are all about protein. That's why they eat bedbugs and scorpions as appetizers. It's commonplace. But I wasn't ready for this. I hadn't eaten anything yet today. All right, let's go with the tin. Let's have a stink bug. I can't believe I'm saying this. Scorpion first, alcohol for decontamination. All right, let's go.
Oh, gross. It tastes
Like chips. Well, let's go for a walk. I'm going for bugs. Should I chew it or just eat it?
It's tasteless. Oh, here comes something now. A little bit stale.
Stale. I'll have an ant and a grasshopper for an appetizer, especially since they taste the same.
It tastes a little bit like a grasshopper. It even tastes like seeds. I wish I had a crumb.
I missed it. If earlier for Indians a crawling and jumping lunch cost nothing, today a plate with all this pleasure rounds up to 700 rubles. That's it. After such a lunch, you need to get some air immediately. And the Sochimilco neighborhood will do just fine. In the Aztec language, this place is called Sochimilco. There is a huge flower market. But still, first of all, this area of Mexico City is known for the ancient Aztec canals. Here you can ride on boats called trojineras, which is actually what I'm going to do now. Yeah, it's kind of like Venice, except I'm in Mexico. And Xochimilco was built by Indians in a dense tropical jungle. They dug a river 14 kilometers long without bulldozers. And they built islands. And not gondoliers, but mariachi street musicians. Not for free, of course. To keep you entertained on the trochinera, you can call the mariachis to keep you company. Guys, come on in!
When I wake up in the cold, I want to sing of my joy, my Mexican land. Sing about my volcanoes, my beaches, and my flowers, which are like talismans from the love of my love.
But what's cool is that you don't share the boat with anyone. Not with, say, a lot of people you know. And just with a company, with your family, you spend time like this.
You have picnics. Maybe even a birthday can be celebrated here. I would, to be honest with you.
That's what Mexico City is like. Hospitable and smiling, always sunny and sizzling with spicy food. Here, on the most mournful day, Spanish descendants celebrate a pagan Indian festival, put on a colorful show with dancing and music in the cemetery. Yes, the traditions of these people are sometimes frightening, but it is worth visiting this city because, well, where else in the world you can see a parade of dead people and skeletons? When I went to Mexico, I knew that it would amaze me with noisy fun, bright colors, and hot temperament. But this country has managed to exceed my expectations. Along with the fun here lives 1,000 years of wisdom under the account of civilizations wiped off the face of the earth. Next to the bright colors lives the silence of contemplation. I am glad my journey through Mexico continues. This has been a Yang Bo Yang channel. Put likes, write comments, subscribe to the channel. See you soon.
Thank you.